The Young and the Restless spoilers Friday's full episodes June 20th, 2025. It had been one of those strange mornings where the air in Genoa City carried a quiet tension, the kind that made people question even the most innocent glances, the kind that made doubts fester in the corners of the mind. For Chelsea Lawson, the feeling had followed her all the way from the park where she'd watched Connor and Johnny play in the distance, to the glossy elevators of Newman Media where she now stood with a growing pit in her stomach. She had told herself she was just overthinking, that Adam had changed, that they had worked so hard to rebuild not only their co-parenting dynamic but something far deeper, a sense of trust. But as the elevator doors opened and she stepped out into the corridor, her instincts screamed otherwise. Something was off. Something had shifted. And she wasn't going to ignore it anymore. She walked into Adam's office without knocking, her jaw tight, her voice already tinged with accusation. "What are you hiding from me?" she demanded, catching him mid-click on his laptop. Adam looked up, visibly startled, then tried to mask it with his usual composed smirk. "Nothing," he said too quickly. "I'm just working on a deal memo, that's all." But Chelsea wasn't buying it. Her eyes narrowed as she took a step closer. "Really? Then why did you minimize that window the second I walked in?" Adam closed the laptop and leaned back in his chair, feigning nonchalance, but she could see the flicker of tension in his eyes. "You're being paranoid," he said. "There's nothing going on." But Chelsea wouldn't relent. "You made me a promise," she said, her voice rising with every word. "You promised we'd be partners, that there'd be no more secrets, that we'd build something real again, not just for us, but for Connor. Are you telling me you haven't broken that promise?" Adam sighed, then stood, walking slowly around the desk toward her. "No," he said firmly. "I haven't said a word about Billy Abbott, if that's what this is about. I haven't made any calls. I haven't sent any emails. I haven't leaked anything to the press. I've kept my word, Chelsea. I swear." But the doubt in her eyes didn't fade. "Then what were you looking at just now?" she asked, folding her arms tightly. Adam reached over, reopened the laptop, and turned it toward her. On the screen was a colorful website featuring zombie graphics, survival maps, and character avatars. "I was looking at this," he said. "It's a game Connor and Johnny have been dying to play together. I'm trying to learn the mechanics so I don't look like a complete idiot when they ask me to join." Chelsea blinked. The sudden shift in context hit her hard. "Oh," she said, the fire in her chest cooling slightly. You thought I was planning something shady," Adam finished for her. Again. He didn't sound angry, just disappointed. "And somehow that was worse. I guess I deserve that. But I was hoping you'd see that I've changed." Chelsea's shoulders slumped slightly as the guilt began to take hold. "I'm sorry," she murmured, lowering her eyes. "I've just been on edge. I've been trying so hard to believe in this new version of us, and every time I feel like we're moving forward, something in me pulls me back." Adam stepped closer, his voice softer now. "I get it. I do. But you have to stop seeing me as the man I was and start seeing me as the man I'm trying to be. Everything I'm doing now, it's for you, for Connor, for this family. And believe it or not, my love for you is stronger than my hatred for Billy Abbott." That caught her off guard. She looked up, surprised, almost vulnerable in that moment. "You mean that?" she asked. "Every word," he said. And then, without another thought, he kissed her, softly at first, then with the kind of desperation that only comes from nearly losing something that matters. She kissed him back, and for a moment everything else fell away. No business rivalries. No old grudges. No past betrayals. They sank down onto the leather couch in his office, the one that had witnessed so many tense negotiations, so many midnight schemes. But today, it bore witness to something different, an emotional surrender, a silent pact that maybe, just maybe, they could survive this after all. Afterward, as they lay tangled in silence, The only sound was the low hum of the city outside and the soft beating of their hearts. Chelsea rested her head on Adam's chest, listening to the rhythm. "I don't want to keep questioning you," she said quietly. "I don't want to feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop." Adam kissed her hair. "Then don't," he said. "Just be here. Now. With me." Meanwhile, across town, Daniel Romalotti Jr. was having a very different kind of day. At society, he and his father, Danny Romalotti, had claimed a quiet corner booth, away from the hum of gossip and clinking silverware. The two hadn't always had the easiest relationship. Years of missed birthdays, misunderstood motives, and emotional distance had built a canyon between them. But today, that canyon felt smaller. Over grilled salmon and glasses of sparkling water, they spoke not as father and son burdened by the past, but as men trying to understand each other. Danny asked Daniel what it was like to co-parent with Heather, to navigate the new rhythm of shared responsibilities. Daniel asked his father about Christine, about the way his eyes still softened when her name came up. "You still love her," Daniel said with a smirk. Danny didn't deny it. "Always have," he admitted. "But loving someone doesn't always mean you get to keep them. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for someone you love is to let them go." Daniel nodded, understanding more than he let on. The afternoon sun filtered through the windows, casting golden light on their faces, and for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years: his peace. It was fleeting, but it was real. And as they walked out of the restaurant together, Danny slapping his son playfully on the shoulder, there was a sense that maybe the future didn't have to be a repetition of old mistakes. Maybe healing wasn't just possible, it had already begun. Back at Newman Media, as Adam walked Chelsea out, his phone buzzed with a message that made his jaw clench. A name flashed across the screen that shattered his brief moment of serenity. Billy Abbott. 3 missed calls. A new voice message. The war wasn't over. But today, for a brief, beautiful moment, it had paused. The golden hues of early evening danced across the candlelit tables at society, casting a warm glow over the linen tablecloths and polished silver. Daniel Romalotti Jr. sat across from his father, Danny Romalotti, sipping a glass of red wine and pushing a fork through a barely touched plate of salmon. It had been a while since father and son had shared a quiet moment together. Their lives had drifted on different paths for too long: tours, cities, heartbreaks, but tonight there was a rare and fragile ease between them. "Lucy's doing great," Daniel said, his voice laced with a faint pride that only fatherhood could bring. "She's made some friends at her new school. She's still a little quiet, but she's settling in." Danny smiled. "That's good to hear. I know how tough transitions can be, especially for kids with creative spirits. They feel everything more deeply." Daniel nodded. "She gets that from her mom." There was a brief silence as Danny took a slow sip of his wine, then leaned back. "And you? Are you settling in?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "I guess I'm still figuring it out. The work's been good. The projects help keep my head straight. And I've started learning guitar again, nothing serious, just therapy, I guess." Danny raised an eyebrow, amused. "Therapy?" Daniel chuckled softly. "I know it's not conventional. But there's something about the strings, the discipline, the sound. It's helping me find my rhythm again, literally and figuratively." Danny's smile softened. "I'm glad. I know how hard it's been for you. After everything with Heather." Daniel's face clouded, and he looked away. "Yeah. It still hurts. Some nights I wake up and reach for her. Like I expect her to be there. And when she's not," he paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. "It's like losing her all over again." Danny reached across the table, placing a hand gently on his son's. "Heartbreak doesn't just fade, Daniel. It lives with you. But it doesn't have to control you. They sat in silence for a few moments, the clinking of nearby plates and low murmur of other diners filling the space between them. Then, Danny shifted the subject. So, these guitar lessons. Are you working with someone specific? Daniel nodded. Tessa. She's been great, actually. Patient, encouraging. Easy to talk to. Danny tilted his head. Easy to talk to? That's always a good sign. Daniel laughed. Don't start. We're just friends. Danny smirked. Hey, I'm just asking. You two seem to get along. Daniel shrugged. We do. But she's married. And completely in love with her wife. It's not like that. She's just easy to be around. And after everything, that means more than I expected. Danny leaned forward, lowering his voice as if delivering a confession. Speaking of love, what would you think if I proposed to Christine? Daniel blinked. Wait, seriously? Danny smiled sheepishly. I've been thinking about it. A lot. I know we've had our ups and downs over the years, but every time I see her, it feels right. Like we never stopped. Daniel chuckled. Honestly? I think that's amazing. If it feels right, go for it. Just maybe don't let Phyllis plan the engagement party. They both laughed, the weight of their earlier conversation momentarily lifted. But across town, in the dim comfort of her apartment, Mariah Copeland was drowning in a different storm. She sat alone on the couch, a glass of wine untouched on the table beside her, her hands trembling as another memory forced its way into her consciousness. The second flashback of her business trip, the one she had tried to bury, rose uninvited. The dark hotel bar, the clinking of glasses, the laughter of strangers, and the man. Older. Charismatic. Mysterious. They had talked for hours, sharing stories and secrets neither of them had any business exchanging. And then, the almost. That dangerous, lingering almost, a moment where their faces were inches apart, their lips poised to destroy everything she loved. Mariah squeezed her eyes shut, but the image wouldn't go away. She hadn't crossed the line, but she had wanted to. And that truth was worse than the act itself. Her guilt wasn't rooted in what had happened, but in what almost did. And that guilt had consumed her from the inside out. She had tried to be present for Tessa, to be a good mother to Arya, to laugh and pretend and carry on like the world hadn't tilted. But every day since that night had been a lie. Every smile was forced. Every touch a reminder. And now she couldn't take it anymore. She needed something, someone, to pull her back from the edge. She picked up her phone with shaking hands and scrolled to Tessa's name. Her finger hovered, heart pounding, then finally pressed call. When Tessa answered, her voice was light, unsuspecting. Hey babe. Everything okay? Mariah's voice was low, urgent, broken. I need to see you. Right now. Please. Can you meet me? Tessa's voice shifted immediately. Of course. Where are you? Mariah gave her the address, barely able to form the words. I'm sorry, she whispered. I need you. As she ended the call, the tears finally came. Not silent and stoic, but uncontrollable and aching. She didn't know what she would say. She didn't know if the truth would come out. All she knew was that the weight of her secrets was suffocating her, and Tessa was the only light left in a world that had gone dark. Tessa arrived moments after the call, her breath quick from rushing, her coat barely buttoned, hair tousled by the wind. She had dropped everything the second Mariah's voice cracked through the phone, laced with desperation and sorrow she hadn't heard in weeks, maybe months. When she stepped through the door, she saw Mariah sitting on the edge of the sofa, shoulders hunched forward, her entire body folding in on itself like she was trying to disappear. Tessa didn't speak at first. She simply approached, eyes soft, worried, cautious not to startle whatever fragile piece of Mariah remained. "Hey," she whispered, kneeling down in front of her. "I'm here." Mariah looked up, and the raw pain in her eyes hit Tessa like a wave. She had seen Mariah cry before. Seen her angry, bitter, scared, but this was different. This was devastation. And when Mariah finally spoke, her voice was hoarse with regret. "I hate what I've done. What I've done to you. To us. To our family." The words came out broken, as though it physically hurt her to say them. "I hate the person I've become." Tessa didn't hesitate. She reached out, gently taking Mariah's trembling hands into her own. "Then let me help you," she said softly. "Take my hand, Rhea. We can get through this. Together. Like we always do." But Mariah pulled her hands away, backing into the corner of the couch, shaking her head. "No. You don't understand. I can't." Her voice cracked, sharp and definitive. "And we can't keep doing this anymore." The words slammed into Tessa like a slap. "What do you mean?" she asked, already fearing the answer. "Don't say that. Don't." "It's over," Mariah whispered. "We're over." Tessa stared at her, unable to process what she was hearing. "You don't get to decide that," she said, trying to stay calm. "We made a promise. We said we'd always be honest with each other. We said we'd face everything together." Mariah turned her face away. Some things you can't say out loud." Tessa's voice dropped. "You're hiding something. I've known for weeks. Maybe longer. You've been shutting me out. Avoiding me. Acting like a stranger. But I let you have your space because I thought you'd come back to me when you were ready. I didn't think you'd leave." Mariah closed her eyes, biting down on her bottom lip to keep it from trembling. "I can't come back. Not this time. I've done something unforgivable." Tessa's voice trembled. "Then tell me. Please, Mariah. Whatever it is, we can work through it. But not if you shut me out. Not if you walk away." Mariah stood up, wrapping her arms around her stomach like she was holding herself together by sheer will. "I love you," she said. "I never stopped. But that doesn't matter anymore. Not after what I did. I can't pretend. I can't look at you and lie. And I definitely can't keep living this life like I deserve it." Tessa stepped forward, her voice rising with emotion. "Don't do this. Don't destroy us. You don't have to carry this alone. Let me carry it with you." But Mariah was already shaking her head. "No. There's no fixing this. And you deserve better than someone who can't even look you in the eye." And then Tessa said something that turned the air in the room to ice. Her voice dropped into something darker, quieter. "You really think I don't know," she said. "You really think I haven't seen it in your eyes every day? The guilt? The shame? The way you flinch when I touch you, like I'm going to see the truth in your skin?" Mariah froze. "What are you talking about?" Tessa stepped closer, her eyes full of devastation now. "You slept with someone else." Mariah didn't speak, but the silence said everything. Her lips parted slightly, and then closed. The denial never came. "I knew," Tessa continued, her voice shaking. "I didn't want to believe it. I told myself there had to be another explanation. But every time you looked away, every time you pulled back from me, I felt it. And I kept waiting for you to tell me. To come to me. But you didn't." "I was drunk," Mariah finally said, her voice no louder than a whisper. "It was one night. One mistake. I don't even know why I let it happen." Tessa blinked through the tears now streaming freely down her cheeks. "You let it happen because something inside you wanted to feel something, anything other than the pain you were carrying. And instead of coming to me, you ran straight into someone else's arms. Mariah tried to step forward, but Tessa took a step back. Please, Mariah whispered. I never stopped loving you. Even that night, I hated myself for it. Then why didn't you tell me? Tessa shouted now, her pain exploding into anger. Why didn't you come home and tell me what you did? We could have faced it together. But you let it rot inside you. You let it fester. And now you want to walk away like you're doing me some kind of favor? Mariah's knees buckled slightly. Because I didn't want to break your heart. Tessa's laugh was bitter. Newsflash, too late. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The space between them was no longer just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, a chasm carved by betrayal and silence. Finally, Mariah picked up her coat and stepped toward the door. I'll make arrangements. For Arya. I'll call you. I can't stay here. You're not the only one who's hurt, Tessa said softly. But I'm not going to beg you to stay if you've already decided I'm not enough. Mariah didn't look back as she walked out. When the door closed behind her, the silence that filled the apartment was deafening. Tessa stood there for a long time, staring at the space where Mariah had been, listening to the echo of everything that had been lost in one evening. And in the nursery, Arya stirred in her crib, unaware that the family she had known was unraveling one thread at a time.